FM News Talk 97.1. On-demand audio. You're listening to Allman in the Morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
Yes, everybody!
I don't care what the bastards say.
I know, Richard. I don't either. I'm with you. Sarah Palin's back in the swing here, talking about crony capitalism. We'll have that for you down the line. Also, there's a report out that Roger Ailes was trying to get Petraeus to run for president back as far back as 2011. And people were asking me about Petraeus. Somebody had asked me about the whole Petraeus thing over the weekend, and it's interesting because I actually do think that General Petraeus was compromised. And it wasn't by the woman he had the affair with or any other nefarious, blackmailers or what have you. He was compromised by the Obama administration and the CIA and the FBI, who knew that he had damaging information and I think tried to make an effort to shut him up and basically just kind of ruin his life enough that he would be hobbled. But that didn't prove to be the case. The Susan Rice thing's kind of died out, though. That's kind of interesting. How did that happen? Susan Rice goes before these committees, talks about Benghazi in an effort to smooth things over. The lawmakers leave the committees with ashen faces. They're so shocked at her inconsistencies and apparent mistruths when it comes to explaining her situation. So it made it worse, but suddenly there's no talk about it at all. It's kind of just gone by the wayside. I guess, well, you can't focus on everything, I guess, can you, news guys? You got to, pick your deals. There's always that lottery winner you got to follow around, right? All right, so what was the latest? Oh, the CBS News or NBC, one of those stations, did a whole thing about head injuries and sports, because apparently now they moved on from blaming guns for they haven't really moved on from it, but they moved on from in their narrative from blaming guns for this KC Chief guy.
Right.
And now they're blaming head injuries while he played football for it. Even though there are countless guys who've had their bells rung on a regular basis in football who haven't murdered their girlfriends. But, oh well. For the purposes of just doing a story about head injuries and banning this and banning that and limiting this and limiting that, they're going to still follow through on it. Kudos, by the way, to the Kansas City Chiefs. Some of the Chiefs players, they wanted to wear the number, Jovan's number on their jerseys. And the owner of the Chiefs is like, he murdered somebody, guys. Oh, yeah. All right. Well, maybe that's not such a good idea. And they dedicated, actually, the game not to Jovan, which is what some people wanted to do. Can you believe that? They dedicated it instead to victims of domestic violence, which I think was a great idea. So the Kansas City Chiefs handled that whole thing very, very well. It could have been a disaster, especially these guys wearing, the guy's a murderer's number on his on their jerseys. That's unbelievable. All right, so this little bit from the cutting room floor I want to bring back because it's really important. It did happen on Sunday, but it was a very, very telling battle between Jim Cramer and Grover Norquist, and Norquist just left Cramer in a heap. I think Cramer is kind of fun to watch, that whole Mad Money thing. I mean, he can be entertaining, but he is kind of an idiot. He has no business being on Meet the Press. I know that for sure. Because he's just a gunslinger, basically. So he gets on there and he tries to pass off this idea, because you guys have heard this before. Well, you don't want to see us go off the fiscal cliff because of just 2% of the population, the top earners. You don't want that to happen, do you? And Norquist just handles this perfectly. Check it out.
Well, he's talking about seducing, that the
Republicans have been seduced. You talk about impure thoughts. This is not a pornographic debate, Grover. What this is about is avoiding a recession, which is going to happen. I know you don't want a recession. You don't want people laid off. You're going to sacrifice that on the cost of 2%? Is that what you want?
No. You got to listen to both what the Republicans are talking about. And again, I'm supportive of the Republican position, which is we need to have economic growth, not higher taxes. If we grew at 4% a year instead of 2% a year, Reagan levels instead of Obama levels, for 1 decade, we'd net $5 trillion in additional revenue. That would pay down the debt that Obama's run up with the cylindrous stimulus stuff.
Clinton did so much better in the stock market with these rates.
Well, that was a different time. We were at the edge of the innovation, the internet boom.
No Obamacare. No threat of regulations. Understand how ugly the next 4 years are going to get. Everything in Obamacare that Obama didn't want you to focus on or think about, the 90% of his $1 trillion tax increase was pushed over till after he got himself safely reelected. All those regulations you're now hearing about, okay, that are being grumbled about, those all hit after the election. We got 4 bad years of regulation taxes. He wants to add higher taxes to... Tea Party 2 is going to dwarf Tea Party 1.
Yeah. Check, please. Kramer even tried to bring up the whole Clinton-era stuff, and it didn't work. It's beautiful. I'll put that clip up on the Allman's Electric Stove for you at 971talk.com. Dr. Tolber straight ahead.